Hello there, my name's Glenn Atkinson, and today I want to do a little ranting about traveling. Not all forms of travel, but just one in particular, flying. Me personally, I hate flying and the whole circus that goes with it. Please understand, I'm not one of those whack job people that must take a handful of Ativan, wash it down with half a bottle of scotch before stepping onto a plane. However, on a few occasions, I have had to sit beside one or two of them. You know the type. When the engines fire up, their bodies start jumping and twerking and twitching, just like they got hit by a bloody taser. Then they turn and look at you with that terrified expression on their face that says, "We're all gonna die!" The list of reasons that make me hate flying and airports in general is a long one. Being 6'5" is definitely one of them. The airline companies have continually pecked away at the legroom, so today, if you're taller than mini-me, you are fucked. Jam them sardines into the tin can. Please move to the back of the bus, people. We have a full flight today. I've been on some flights where I couldn't even put my feet on the floor because my bloody knees are jammed in hard into the seat in front of me. I shit you not, there is no room for a guy 6'5" on these fucking planes. And God help you if you get stuck in the middle seat between a couple of sweaty 400-pounders. It ain't pretty. Just hope it's a short flight. There is this one flight I will never forget. I was sitting beside this very cute and friendly young lady. She seemed normal enough to me, but when we were landing, just as the wheels hit the ground, she grabbed my arm. That part I didn't mind, but what I didn't like was the fact that she had 3/4 inch long, razor sharp fingernails that were now embedded in my forearm. I was so shocked, I let out a scream like a teenage girl who just found out Bobby Joe likes her. Everybody on the plane is now looking at me like I'm one of the crazies. To make matters worse, I caused every other poor nutbar on the plane with a fear of flying to also start screaming. Everybody must have thought the plane had fucking crashed. The plane had now slowed down to a crawl, and yet people were still screaming or crying. I am surprised that nobody had popped open the emergency exits by now. When the plane finally came to a full stop, the captain comes on the radio and says, "Welcome to Seattle. It's sunny and 72 degrees. Thank you for flying United Airlines. Hope you all had a great flight." The plane suddenly went very quiet. As we are deboarding the plane, everyone is pointing at me and giving me the stink eye. I try to avoid eye contact. It didn't help that there was still blood dripping down my arm. Geez, I still have 5 nail scars she left on my arm to this day. What a flight. As I said, I am not one of those crackpots. I actually have no fear of flying itself. It's just all the bullshit that goes with it. I was born in the 50s, so I was lucky enough to see the glory days of air travel. And believe me, it was a different world that we live and fly in today. It was actually a pleasure to fly back then, not a hardship. Did you know, in the 60s, 70s, hell, even into the 80s, there was no security to go through before getting onto a plane. And that was anywhere in North America, including the United States. You just got on the plane and flew away. That's it. They would ask you to please get to the airport at least 30 minutes ahead of your flight, just to be sure you don't miss it. And get this, back then, your friends and family could all come right to your gate with you and hug and kiss goodbye. What a novel concept. Today, you must be at the airport hours and hours before your flight. So if your destination is only 45 minutes of actual flight time, it now takes the whole goddamn day to get there. It's insane. These days, the nightmare even starts before you're inside the terminal. I recently went to the airport to pick up a friend of mine. My buddy calls me and tells me he's just waiting for his bags. I'm running a little late, so I better boot it to get there in time. I pull up in front of the terminal where a big sign says, "Pickup Zone." I'm only stopped like 2 minutes, if that, when a cop taps on my window and he's looking really pissed off. I roll down the window. He yells at me like a Marine drill sergeant. "Mister, this is a pickup zone, not a parking lot. Get this car out of my sight." I open my mouth to tell him my friend's only 30 seconds away, but I don't get a chance. He yells, "No!" I swear his hand was moving toward his Glock. I put my car in gear and burned rubber. I can see my buddy in my rearview mirror running and waving his arms like a madman. Let's just say he wasn't too happy waiting for another 20 minutes while I did the airport loop. All I said to him when he finally got back to the pickup zone was, "Man, I like you, but I'm not taking a bullet for you." Once you are actually inside any major airport in the world, your privacy is completely gone. There are rooms full of computers and people watching zillions of cameras, and they're all pointed at us. With magic facial recognition software, they even know who you are without looking at your papers. But for God's sakes, ever think of getting onto a plane without your papers? Zip papers? Ha! That is not going to happen today. Until the mid-70s, you did not even have to show ID to get onto a plane. Not even ID. Can you imagine? The only person stopping you from getting on a plane was some hot chick at the check-in desk. But I will say, if your skin color was anything other than white, there was a good chance she would call security. Other than that, unless you were openly packing an AK-47, welcome on board. All this crazy dance that we must do now before we get on or near a plane is just because a handful of assholes that blew up some planes or tried to hijack it to Cuba. I have been to Cuba, and believe me, it's not worth stealing a plane to get to. Jesus, just go to Miami and rent a boat. It's only like 30 miles off the coast. On a good day, Mark Spitz could swim there and be back home for dinner. This was the start of security. Then there was this other big turd that caused a policy change that is still enforced upon us today. We must remove our fucking shoes when we go through security. All because this one asshole had stuffed a couple of firecrackers in his sneakers and thought if he set them off on a 747, the plane would just blow up in midair. Wow, really just blow up with a couple firecrackers. He had no hidden timer, so when it was time to blow up the plane, he tried to light the fuses with a Bic lighter right in front of his fellow passengers. What the hell would you think when the only brown guy on the plane is trying to set his 1980s 3 blue-striped white Adidas on fire? This guy was nuttier than a four-eyed fox. But that is the reason 30 years later we must take off our goddamn shoes when we go through security. All this hassle because of some guy with the IQ of a goat. The sad thing about this stupid story is it actually happened. Okay, let's get back to the pains of the terminal and my experiences of air travel. Once inside the terminal, I must find my airline's check-in counter. In these mega terminals, there can be like 5 blocks of them with hundreds of already frustrated people lined up at them. All I really need to do is drop off my checked bag. I've already paid for it and printed my boarding pass and baggage tag at home, thinking this would save me time. This way, there was no need for me to stand in line to talk to an airline agent. I see the sign for baggage drop-off. I make my way over there only to see a long lineup of more pissed off people. There was only one agent asking each person for their ID, boarding pass, then checking their baggage tags. What the fuck was the point of me doing everything online when I still have to talk to a goddamn agent? Finally, it's my turn. I pick up my bag and put it on the scale. The agent gives me that "you stupid old man" look and says in a squeaky, bitchy voice,
"Sir, your bag is half a pound overweight. 50 pounds is the maximum." You will have to pay an extra $25 for having excessively heavy luggage.
Are you shitting me?
Sir, there's no need for that kind of language. Do you want me to call security?
I put my hands in the air and sigh. Then I take out my credit card and hand it to her.
I can't take payment here. You must see a customer service agent.
She points to yet another long lineup of more pissed off people. Wow, I say, just wow. She yells,
Next!
after finally getting my bag checked in, it is time for my next hurdle. I must pass the dreaded security. My blood pressure is already climbing, but I know I must stay calm. Remember what I said earlier? There was no security in the good old days. Well, holy fuck, things have sure changed now. We used to joke about guards giving people a rectal exam, but I don't think it's a laughing matter these days. With the magic of science, they now have full 3D body scanners. You can't hide anything from these babies. And yes, this does include Big Jim and the twins. I swear, every time I fly, they add on some other stupid annoying thing to the dance that will get you through security, or maybe not. These people in uniforms also seem to have god power. At least some of them think so. There are so many rules today, they have to have a guard yelling out instructions as you tread your way through the zigzag lineup like prisoners entering a concentration camp, for God's sakes. Take off your shoes. Remove all coats. Take off your hats. Remove all metal objects off your body. All electronics must be put in a bin if they are bigger than a cell phone, and no stacking the bins. Empty all your pockets, even if you've got a piece of paper in them. Empty them. Really, I think? Is it possible to hijack a plane with my Safeway receipt? The commands just keep coming. The lion of zombies are all asking each other questions, trying to understand what goes in a bin and what doesn't, and what to leave on or what to take off. It's fucking crazy. When it's your turn, you gotta move fast. Get all that shit into the bins and get them onto the rollers. Plus now, another security person is asking you more bloody questions.
Do you have any liquids or aerosol cans in your bags? Do you have any electronics bigger than a cell phone? Do you have any sex toys larger than 12 inches? Do you have any weapons?
I know this may sound weird, but one time I almost got sent to Guantanamo Bay for having a pound of fresh butter in my carry-on. Who the fuck knew you can't take butter onto an airplane? I sure in the fuck didn't. How am I going to take over a plane with a pound of butter? Hold up the block and say, take me to Cuba, or I'll lube up your captain and bend him over the steering wheel. Wow. Remember, folks, no butter. Now it's my turn to go through the 3D body scanner. I'm holding up my pants with my hands because I was told to remove my belt, which had a scary metal buckle. The grumpy prick running the machine tells me to go stand in the circle and place my hands above my head. And God help you if you don't follow his instructions at this point. Well, the second I let go of my pants, they fall down around my knees, and wouldn't you know it, I have my happy face, have a nice day underwear on. I look at the agent and he's shaking his head and monitors me to come forward. I shuffle forward, trying not to trip over my pants. He then says to me, "Sir, I'm gonna have to do a pat down of your groin area. Are you okay with that?" I answer, "Sure. Do I have balls of steel?" That got me another dirty look. I swear, he gave my left nut a little extra squeeze when he did the search. When I finally get to all my shit that has gone through the see all machine, everyone else is hopping around trying to put their shoes on and jamming all their stuff back into their bags, trying to put their belts on as more and more bins keep being pushed out of the scanner. It's mayhem, ridiculous mayhem. If we had high-speed trains here like so many other countries, I would never fly again. I am finally off to find my boarding gate. Some airports are so big You must take a train to reach them. For some unknown reason, mine is always the farthest one to get to. This is the point where I can finally sit and try to get my blood pressure back down after jumping through all the circus hoops. And of course, one last bathroom break. Nobody ever wants to go poop on a plane with 6 people standing just out the door waiting their turn. Who was Mr. Stinky? The gate sitting area is packed with yet again more pissed off and tired looking people. I look over at the display monitor and of course it says, "This flight has been delayed." I go over and talk to the airline representative to ask about the delay and also see if there's any exit aisle seats available. I like the extra legroom and also to be the first one off the plane when it crashes. The amazingly friendly lady looks up at her computer and says, yes, you are in luck. Can I see your boarding pass?" I reach in my pocket and holy fuck, it's not there. Shit, I say. It must still be in one of those plastic bins back in security. She gives me a cute little pouty face look and says, "I'm sorry, sir. You cannot board this flight without it. You will have to go back to the check-in counter and get another one printed. The good news is your flight is delayed for 2 hours, so you have plenty of time to get through security again." My mouth is hanging wide open, and then a light bulb flashes on in my head. I look at her and say, "I had it sent to my email on my phone. Will that work?" She smiles and says, "Perfect. Let me scan the barcode." I whip out my iPhone and I am greeted by a friendly voice. Oh, it's Suri. She says, "Hi, Glenn. Your battery is down to 1%. Time for a recharge. Talk to you later." The screen goes black. Fuck me. See you in a few hours. Finally, it's time to board. Have you ever noticed it doesn't matter what airport you are in, the intercom announcement system is useless. They all sound like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah 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 wah. All the passenger zombies are always looking at each other going, "What did she say? What did she say?" Some airlines now board by zones, which you can find on your boarding pass. Sounds like a good plan, right? Fuck no. Everyone is standing in front of the so-called zone lineup area, most not even knowing where to be because all they heard was wah 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 wah, zone, wah 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 wah, line, wah 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 wah, boarding, wah wah wah. Again, more mayhem. Nobody knows where the fuck they're supposed to be. I'm not sure why they let people traveling with small children board first. What the fuck for? So everyone else can be greeted by the screaming and crying children as they board? It makes no sense. They should be last. Let them run around the gate lounge, burn off some more energy. Then shove the little monsters in at the last minute, for God's sakes. Old miserable fucks like me should board first and be given a double rum and coke for all the hoops I had to do just to get there. Let me tell you, things have really gone downhill for us since the golden age of flying. That is, unless you're one of the rich pricks that can afford to pay 3 or 4 times the price of a ticket to fly on the same plane as you, but in their own private goddamn sleeping pod. Have you ever got on your plane where you have to parade by all these bastards that are already lying back watching the latest movie and drinking champagne? It's so degrading as we trudge by them to the back of the bus where we're all crammed into our seats with barely enough room for one ass cheek, don't mind 2. It's just wrong. The pod people should be at the back of the plane so we don't have to feel like the poor shits that we are. We really do not need to see them. Besides, more people survive plane crashes that are seated in the rear cabin of the plane. I guess these rich fuckers don't care because they already have a clone copy of them frozen in liquid nitrogen stuck on the cloud somewhere. Don't even get me going on about the pod people. But I must admit, I recently got spoiled by my son on a long flight to Europe. Without knowing, he had upgraded us to first class. When the stewardess ushered us to our pods, I was sure they had made some kind of mistake and we were just going to get booted right off the plane. It was an hour into the flight before I even felt safe. The experience of flying in your own personal pod with a 32-inch TV was insane. We were treated like rock stars. If the poor fuckers at the back of the plane knew how well the pod people were being treated and spoiled, I swear there'd be a mutiny on the plane. The class difference was more than I could have ever imagined. But now that I know the secret, it sucks turds. Once again, when I fly, I must be in the back with the rest of the peasants. Oh my God. I wish I could have my pod experience just wiped out of my brain. Okay, the next thing we have to talk about is the carry-on luggage. Because everything on a plane is a la carte, meaning nothing is for free, some airlines now charge you even for your fucking seat. Not just for exit aisle, but for any seat. Like, wow, does that mean if you don't pay for your seat, you must sit in one of the roomy shithouses on the plane? Or do they stick you in a dog crate and put you in the luggage department? Beats me. Anyway, because people don't want to pay to check in a suitcase, they now carry all kinds of shit onto the plane. I was recently on a flight. This guy was carrying a hockey gear bag. A hockey gear bag? He could have had his wife in it for all I know. But by the way he had to pound the shit out of it to stuff it into the overhead bin, I don't think she would have survived. But here's the problem. If you're one of the last people to board the plane, all the overhead bins are full. Now you must ram all your shit under the seat in front of you. But now, where are you supposed to put your feet? Jesus, who comes up with this shit? As I said, because I'm tall, flying sucks double for me. I have woken up the whole plane more than once when the person in front of me reclines their seat, with my knees already planted hard against the plastic back of the seat. When it suddenly becomes 2 inches closer, I let out a scream like I just got shot. Oh yeah, I love flying. Just love it. Today's economy airlines are now the new Greyhound bus in the sky, including the stinky bathroom at the back. At least when you take a Greyhound bus, you just buy a ticket and get on the bus. That's it. And hey, you can even bring your own six-pack and chicken wings. Try that on a plane. Next stop, the flight crew. This is where things have really changed since those good old days. To be fair, most stewards and stewardesses are pretty good and are just doing their job. But some of them think they have the power of a goddamn FBI agent and never call them glorified waitresses, or you will be banned from flying for the rest of your life. In the 60s and 70s, the only way you could be a stewardess was you had to be sweet and, smoking hot. And also, you had to be single. I guess that was to give hope to all the guy travelers that maybe one day they would pick up a supermodel on a flight. I know stewardesses did get hit on constantly. That's because all the guys were shit-faced on the long flights from all the booze because it was free and no one gave a shit on how much you drank. Even the cigarettes were free, and the stewardess encouraged people to smoke to calm them of their fear of flying. Wow. Can you imagine what would happen today if you lit up a cigarette on a plane? Ha! I saw in the news the other day, some guy was drunk and being a bit of an asshole on a flight from Canada to the US. Guess what happened? They turned the goddamn plane around back to Canada with 2 F-18 escort jets. I'm not shitting you. A little overkill, do you think? So don't even think about lighting up a butt. I asked for a beer and a shot of whiskey on a recent flight, and let me tell you, if looks could kill, you would have thought I asked for the whole 40-ounce bottle.
Sir, we're only allowed to serve 1 alcoholic drink at a time per customer. Do you have a problem with that?
I think you have a drinking problem. She was looking at me like I was some kind of street fucking hobo. I said, okay, give me a whiskey. No ice, no water. The old bitch opened the little bottle and pours it into the plastic cup and hands it to me. I quickly knock it straight down the hatch and hand her back the cup. And then with my biggest shark smile, I say, and now, may I have my cold beer, please? I was on my first Boeing 747 flight to Hawaii in the early 1980s on an airline called Ward Air. It was amazing. The plane had a full lounge upstairs where you could go sit at the goddamn bar. Just don't get up and take a pee because someone will grab your seat because it was so amazing. Here you are flying on a plane sitting at a bar. No seatbelts required. In the main cabin, the hot stewardesses came up and down the aisle with trays of Mai Tais. Take one, take two, or three. They didn't give a shit. The plane was just one big party. Crazy. And get this, all the booze and food was free. Can you imagine? Free. We even had to carry one of my friends off the plane in Honolulu. He was partied out. Remember, this was the early 80s, but somewhere around 1985, everything started going south. I once got held up at the airport in San Francisco for trying to take the very first Nintendo game, still unopened, onto a flight as carry-on. There was some half-assed security check that we had to go through, not like the madness today though. The guy looks at the box and the picture on it and says to me, "What is this?" The goofball points at the picture of the gray plastic gun and he's looking very, very concerned. I say, "What?" He points at it again and he says, "What's this?" "Oh," I say, "it's Duck Hunt. It's a video game, Nintendo." He says, "Sir, you cannot take this gun as carry-on on any plane." "It's not a gun," I say. "It only looks like a gun." I rip open the cellophane and he steps back. What if he'd pulled out his .38 and shot me at that point? The next day the headlines would have been interesting. Duck Hunter dies at San Francisco airport. Quack, quack, quack. I hand him the not so real looking plastic gun with a wire hanging out the back of it. He takes it and looks it over and says, "It's still a gun and it's not going on board. You will have to go back and check it into your baggage." Fuck me. As I said, this is where it all started to go down the toilet. You know now, I just wish that since they have fucked up everything so bad, that they would just take the last step. And that is, everyone boards the plane completely buck naked with no carry-on. Take out all the seats, ram us all into chambers, kind of just like the overhead bins, but rows of them from floor to ceiling. Then fill the plane up with some kind of knockout gas and put us all to sleep. No food, no bar service required, no toilet paper, no soap. Not even a stewardess is required. Just pile us in and knock us out and get us to our destination on time. You know, compared to today's air travel, I like the idea. Cheers, and thanks for listening.